There we go. Here we go. People are entering the room. And good morning, everybody. Morning, ladies. How are you both today? You good?
Good, thank you. All good. It's Friday, so it's a good day.
It is Friday. The sun is shining, depending on where you are in the world, but certainly down south, the sun is shining, and it does feel like spring is around the corner, finally. But is it nice where you are, Michelle?
Yeah, it's quite sunny actually. It's still a bit chilly. I'm still sat in a hoodie, but yeah, it's sunnier, so I'm sure it gets sunnier again. It was lovely
Good.
yesterday, wasn't it? It was
It was
really hot today.
really nice. I've made the mistake in going outside with a jacket on to walk the dog, and by the time the dog walk was over, I was absolutely sweating. Um, Amanda, good morning. Amanda is in the chat function, just there to support us with any of your questions. She'll also be sharing some links as well that we talk about throughout the webinar. So anything that we talk about or that we mention, you should go take a look at. You'll also get an email after the webinar as well with those links as well. So don't panic thinking if you don't click on it now, you've missed out. You'll also get an email with everything on there as well. So just as we wait for everybody to really grab their cuppers and whatnot and get ready, just a few housekeeping rules that we normally go over just before we kick things off. We're booked out for an hour today. Shaunagh and Michelle are going to walk us through maximising sale value and serving smaller clients. We're really looking forward to this session. So we have allocated the full hour for this. The chat functions are open, so you can send a direct message to us or chat in the function as Amanda is. So if you've got any questions at any time, please feel free at any point. If you want something answered, drop a message. We'll make it as interactive as possible and we'll come back to you as soon as we can. There are a couple of polls as well. We'd love for you to all get involved in the polls as well to give us some results. We'll share the results with you to give you a little bit of extra insight into the discussion and the presentation today from the girls. So for those that are members or that attend our webinars regularly, I am using a completely new slide deck today. So please bear with me if I look like I'm a little bit thrown off, because I probably will be. But we wanted to mix things up. We've built a new slide deck using the wonderful AI as well. So if you see any funny faces, which AI tends to throw in every now and then, don't laugh. We'll just brush past those ones. All right. So if we're ready, we'll get going because I don't want to eat into any of your time. So welcome to the Financial Planning Club. So there's two parts of our business. There is a club membership and there is a community that is free to all. So touching on the club membership, we offer and provide one-to-one bespoke support and consultancy for business owners. Everything we do right now impacts our results in the next 3 to 6 months. So it's so important that we craft our 3-year business plan. So we're either creating completely brand new 3-year business plans or we are updating your existing ones. We break that down into 12-month roadmaps and then again into smaller 90-day sprints. Accountability is at the forefront of what we do. There's no point in putting stuff on paper if nobody's going to hold you accountable and say, where are we at with the next mini sprints? So that's the club membership for business owners. And if we were to touch on the areas of the business that we can support you with, we are looking at your growth and your strategy. We are looking at all things operational and your team. We're looking at your client relations and your marketing and personal coaching and development. That is so important as well. So whether we're running bespoke workshops for a particular hurdle that's currently come up in your business and we're trying to get around it, or we're giving you the ultimate BD blueprint, we look at every aspect of your business. It is a consultancy over 12 months. So we're not just, here today, gone tomorrow. It is a 12-month consultancy support that we provide to you guys and girls and you business owners. So it's about navigating challenges throughout the year, because absolutely how your business is fit today, it might not be the same in 3 months' time. Things happen all the time. So just be prepared for that for sure. The famous saying says, if you don't know where you're going, you'll probably end up somewhere else. And that's why we plan for long-term success. You have to be confident in your strategy. The 90-day sprints is what it's all about. We break everything down and how are we going to get there in smaller sprints, because some goals are far too big and far too wide. And we need to make that a little bit more narrower and just work towards that goal every single day, every single 90 days. It's a community focus. You're not just getting the support of us, but you're getting the support of other business owners, other club members as well, that may have been there, navigated it, and come out the other side. The best thing about the community at the Financial Planning Club is everybody loves to talk. Everybody loves to help other people in similar situations. So don't go at it alone. Do it with others, definitely. As always, you can scorecard your business. So on the 4 areas that we discuss, your growth and your strategy, your operational efficiency, we've got a scorecard that you can measure your business at the moment. See if it is the well-oiled machine that you think it is. Absolutely, you might knock it out of the park and get 100% in some of these areas, or if not all of them. If you're doing all of them, fantastic, well done. But this will identify any areas that you might need a little bit of additional support with. We do spend a lot of our time working in our businesses rather than on them. So take a step back, assess and reflect. It is the key to growth and improvement. If you complete the scorecard, it is going to be emailed out to you, as well as the link that's just been put in the chat. You will get a personalized message from Amanda that talks to you about how we can potentially support you and your business. So that's really, really cool. It's only a multiple choice tick, tick, tick exercise, so it doesn't take too long, 2 or 3 minutes, and you'll get your results back. We are live again. Our event last year was an absolute hit, and the next one is in the diary for Thursday, the 8th of May. It is exclusive for business owners. Capacity, we are bringing 60 owner managers together in a room in London as well. There are a few seats remaining, so if you want to come and spend a day with us, please do let us know. At the end of the webinar, when you hit leave, there will be a little survey on how we were, how the girls were today in their presenting. There's also going to be a question saying, do you want to attend our event? If you hit yes, we'll reach out to you and talk to you about the day and what we have planned. But we are building out personal and intergenerational motivators. Dimensional is also joining us for a session on client referrals, and we are building the ultimate client referral machine. All right, so it's going to be a really, really good day. Our headline collaborator for the event is Fundment. And as you can see there on the left, we've got some feedback from our last event. It is inspirational. You get new ideas. It's stimulating. You get some real super cool ideas. And it's about taking something away today that you can absolutely implement into your businesses tomorrow. And that's the key thing. And that's what we always aim to achieve when we bring our events together. All right. So just let us know if you're interested in finding out more. The community aspect, this is where a lot of people are hanging out. Some of you are probably in our communities now. In our WhatsApp groups, there's 5 separate WhatsApp groups. We've got our financial advisor WhatsApp group. We've got our mortgage advisor WhatsApp group. We do cross-reference everybody on the FCA register. We keep the conversations very topical in those WhatsApp groups, all right? So if you want to be a part of either of these groups, we do obviously cross-reference just to make everything relevant and impactful for everybody in the group. So we've got financial advisor, mortgage advisor, we've got our paraplanner, we've got our business owner WhatsApp groups, and we've also got our ops manager WhatsApp groups as well. So it's just really cool places for you to hang out with other peers. It is, again, about getting new ideas. Some people are stuck on particular cases or want a bit of support. They want to look outside the 4 walls of their business. The WhatsApp community provides you pretty instant results. It's really, really good. I'd always recommend you mute the group because it does go off a hell of a lot, which is good. We've got bespoke study groups as well. So for those that are studying towards chartered, for example, whether that's through the CII or LRBF, we've got different study groups that you can fall into and chat with others that are studying. We get exclusive discounts. And as you are all here today on our webinar, we've also got our podcast. I think we're about 40, maybe 50 episodes deep on our podcast, and that is all about business owners and our collaborators as well. So there's definitely going to be some names in there that you've heard of in the industry. So if you're commuting and want to listen to a financial planning podcast, head over to, I think it's on all your main platforms, your Spotify's and whatever else. So go over to there and have a listen. Collaborators. So these are our strategic partners, they're educational providers, they're technology solutions, they're compliance support, and everything in between. We're very selective as to who we work with and who come and collaborate with the club. They've got to believe in the same things that we believe in, and that's bringing innovation to the industry that we all love and enjoy being a part of. And some of these collaborators that we are partnered with absolutely do ooze some of the same stuff. So from compliance to operational overhauls, tech integration, AI recruitment, outsourcing, whatever it may be, some of these collaborators are absolutely doing something very, very different in the industry. And they're all part of the club, supporting our members and our community members as well. So a big shout out to all of our collaborators. What we've got coming up next, our next 2 webinars are planned. They're in the diary. We've got Sparrow Solutions and Suitability Templates. That's going to be really good, really interactive as well. That's on March the 28th. Again, all of our webinars kick off at 10 a.m. And then fast forward a week to April the 4th, we are with Timeline again, and that's assumption-based versus evidence-based, cash flow modeling, financial planning, and everything in between. So again, that's going to be a really, really good exercise. Moving on now, introducing the amazing Michelle and Shaunagh, who are joining us today. So Michelle founded eParaplan, and she has created the outsourced solution that she has always wished that existed, leads with innovation to help advisors scale their business. Shaunagh is the backbone to the business. She's bringing the focus, the efficiency, and the operations, offering modern approach to advisor support. So, ladies, my part is done. I will stop sharing my screen and pass it over to you both. The floor is yours.
Amazing, thank you. Whilst I'm just bringing up my screen, I will just say if I have to mute, I am recovering from the flu, so I'm still having coughing fits, still a bit nasally. So if I disappear for a few seconds,
if we see your eyes shut, we know you're going to sneeze. Yeah, fine.
Coughing my guts up or something. Right, let's just share my screen, and then hopefully if I click present, it should then go full screen. We working?
Perfect.
We are indeed. We are live.
Amazing. And I do apologise if I'm sniffing along the way.
You're fine.
So today we are focusing on the annual review blueprint, and we're talking about how to structure and prepare for an annual review meeting that maximises, advice opportunities within that meeting itself. So what does a step-by-step process look like to help you make the most of those meetings? And hopefully the way that I'll go through it today, it's quite high level. It talks about the process and the sorts of things that you should be doing when you're preparing, but how you then can take that and implement that into your own business is entirely up to you. So we'll touch on this in a little bit more detail anyway. So the 3 things, it's the practical step-by-step, it's talking about the opportunities, how we can uncover some new advice opportunities, and then also a little bit on scaling and how we can streamline and scale annual reviews. So my key message about getting advice opportunities and making the most of review meetings rather than them just being sort of tick box exercises or, talking about performance and those sorts of things that really don't matter to the future plan, is that it's all in the prep. It's all in the prep. So just like how failing to plan is planning to fail, it's a similar thing with an annual review. So all in the prep work and what that looks like. So my first thing that I will say, and hopefully this one's a little bit more obvious, is that everybody should have a review schedule. So you should know your clients very well. You should know what month their review month is. And then also making sure that that review month is the right one for them. So if you've got a client, like they run their own business, August is a really busy month for them in their business, then they might not be engaged in their annual review and their preparation if you're going to try and meet with them in August. So it's like thinking about your review schedule, making sure all your clients are in their review month, and also that review month is the right one for them, and making any tweaks or adjustments if you need to. So we've got our first poll, I think, Lee.
That's me, bear with. And this is how far ahead do you plan, right?
Yeah, so how far ahead of someone's annual review meeting would you start to prepare?
And if all of you can participate, that would be amazing. Look at that. So a lot of people are steering towards the 1 to 2 weeks. What do you make of that?
So that's what I thought people would say. Okay, 1 to 2 weeks, if I'm honest. We actually advise starting at least 4 weeks ahead.
Okay.
And the reason for that is because you need your clients to engage in the preparation as well. And if you're only giving them 2 weeks, it's not enough time. You know, people are busy, they go on holiday, those sorts of things. So we really need to be starting the prep work earlier. There's certain things that we would do in sort of the 1 to 2 week period, like looking at certain valuations, that sort of stuff. So it's a little bit more current, but certainly starting the prep journey needs to happen a lot earlier.
I thought what I should have done is shared the results for everybody to see as well. So hopefully now you can all see the results. So it is very heavy towards the 1 to 2 week mark. There are a few of you in the room that are 4 weeks plus, so that's very, very good as well. You're where you roughly should be, right? There's a few people sitting in the middle. So hopefully this will outline what you need to be doing and give you the blueprint that we're all looking for. So thank you all for participating in that first poll.
Amazing. So the first thing we would say to do if you have, let's say we're looking at May's reviews, for example, we're coming up to April now. So we're going to go into April and we're looking at May's reviews. So this is where we're sort of starting that prep journey at least sort of 4 weeks ahead. In some scenarios, you're looking 6 weeks ahead, because if you're not going to be booking them until mid to end of May, then we're actually starting that a bit earlier. Now, the very first thing that we recommend before you actually start contacting that client, trying to book their review or any of that sort of stuff, is starting with your meeting agenda. So make your meeting agenda a nice templated document that works for you, that covers everything that we're going to go through today. But start with that meeting agenda and do what we call like a file check, compliance file check. It's just sort of, it covers lots of different things. So it covers your standard sort of compliance stuff, your disclosure documents, you know, making sure that if you've updated your terms of business, that client's had a copy recently. The ATR's on file, that actually that it's still in date and it wasn't done 8 years ago. AML requirements, that you've got their wills, their power of attorney, that you've got a copy of their most recent tax return, all that kind of like nice tidying up stuff and just making sure that that file's nice and compliant. But equally, it's not just a, you know, have they done an ATR recently, yes or no? It's what was their risk question, what was their risk profile, and is that consistent with how they're currently invested? So it's almost like a check of the advice and where they're currently sitting as well. And drawing not all of that information, but drawing some of that key information that might be important in a meeting discussion into your meeting agenda so that you're well prepared for when those conversations come up. For example, it's not just, yes, they've got a will on file and it's in date. It's actually, when was it drafted? Who's listed? You know, who might be the power of attorney? Similar thing with expression of wishes. You know, have all the pensions got one registered? Who's registered? What's the split? Because then when you go into a meeting and someone says, oh, I don't know, I've got a new grandchild, and you know from your prep work that their grandchildren are listed as expression, you know, beneficiaries on their pension, that there might need to be some adjustment there because you're prepared and you've got that information to hand. And again, that what you include there is really down to each individual advisor firm and what they feel is important to those discussions. So we've got some other examples like the state pension forecast. Have we got a recent one on file? How much is it? When are they going to start receiving it? ESG preferences, contact preferences, even down to like soft facts. So some advisors like to be reminded of like the grandchildren's names, you know, and how old they are and what they like to do, you know, some of that soft stuff, so that when you're going into the meeting, you can kind of really quickly see and you've got it to hand. So once you've done that initial sort of check and you've started harvesting some information, you've started putting some useful information you might want to refer to into a meeting agenda, that's when I would say start booking that meeting. And this is still in early April if you're looking at May reviews. So you're giving the client enough time to be available, to be free, to book in at a time that suits them and yourself, but also because we want to give them a little bit of homework. Because the prep is also partly the client's responsibility, not just yours as the advisor or the support team. So we start that, we contact the client, we'll have a nice discussion, we'll book them into the diary, and then we'll let them know if there's anything they might need to do. For example, that if they do need to do a state pension forecast or they do need to do a new ATR, then we'll have that conversation, manage that expectation, and then send like a nice follow-up, nice sort of simple, jargon-free, giving them clear guidelines on what we need them to do. And also something I like to put into that is how long it might take them to do it. You know, if you need them to do an ATR, it's a 10-minute job, or, you know, whatever it is, just so you're managing that expectation. Your clients know how much time they're going to have to put aside to invest into this journey. And then the other thing we would include in that is getting updated information from the client that is going to be vital to uncovering some advice opportunities. So that could be how much cash they've got in their deposit accounts and their bank accounts. It could be anything that's on their mind that they want to talk about. It could be just going back to their objectives and seeing if that's changed, if their income's changed. And there's lots of different ways you can do that with clients. So that could be sending a form via your back office system. It could be sending them their fact find. It could just be sending them like a nice editable PDF review sort of questionnaire. So it's really, adaptable to how you want to work with your clients, but getting something to them to start considering and preparing to return to you, so you've got lots of that information ahead of the meeting, is a really important part of the process.
That's really good, really good. I'm going to probe a question at you as well, and I don't know if it's relevant right now, but I definitely want to come back to you because we're noticing a lot of businesses at the moment. I've spoke to a handful of businesses at the moment that are cramming all of their annual reviews into the first month or two of the year. Do you come across, because that when I spoke to one business, and all of a sudden I started speaking to a few more. They're like, yeah, we do all of our annual reviews within the first 2-3 months of the year. Then the rest of the year is, new business, new clients, and whatever else. What's your opinion on a setup like that?
I've seen it work. We've got some advisor clients that do that. If I'm being honest, I think that's where it's being seen more of like, I've got to get the review done. It's a bit of a tick box. It's done, it's out the way. And then if there is advice to cover with that client, I'll probably pick it up later in the year. But it does work as long as like your focus is there, you've got the time, your clients have got the time. It can work, yeah. So I think it really doesn't matter when their review is. It's just making sure that you're putting that prep in, you're starting early enough, and you're giving it the attention that it needs.
It's a lot of prep work,
Depends
right?
also on how many clients you've got. If you've only got 20 clients, and you can do them all this time. But if you've got 250 clients, there's no way you're going to be able to do all of those in one. If you're doing a proper financial planning process, you're never going to get 250 people seen in the first 3 months of the year because you're just not going to have the time to do the proper preparation for it, particularly if you follow, there's this sort of process and standard that we work to.
Yeah. No, fair comment.
Okay, just move on. Okay, yeah, I just popped this in. So vulnerability is one of those things that's obviously been hot for a little while. And it's just, for me, it's just making sure that you're having a bit of a pre-vulnerability check. So it's not necessarily always about the meeting. Obviously, once you've had the meeting and you've spoken to clients and done all that lovely work, then you've got a better understanding of their vulnerability. But the reason this is in earlier on for us is that vulnerability is fluid, it does change. So it's not just I've checked their vulnerability 2 years ago and they're not vulnerable. It's something that you should be looking at constantly. And by doing it earlier on in the process, as like a lot of a pre-check, you can identify very quickly if you might need to change the process or adapt it to best suit this client, or, if you might need to invite someone else to attend the meeting, or it might need to be face-to-face instead of online, those sorts of things. So we've got, like, you can see it on screen here, a bit of a checklist that we'll go through that helps us identify vulnerabilities earlier on, talking about the sorts of conversations that we're having with clients, and therefore what action or outcomes we might need to implement. So it's worth bringing into your process as well, especially like, your support team, if they're contacting these clients earlier on in the process and having conversations with them and they're getting information back, they can start doing that sort of pre-check and seeing if we need to adjust the course of action.
Do you not see that commonly used in that order then, Shaunagh, would you say?
If I'm honest, when we take on advisor firms, their vulnerability check is normally a box on their fact find that says, are they vulnerable, yes or no? And it's a second thought. So bringing this in and having a nice evidence thought out process and having it earlier on that then gets finished later on, it's just a nice reminder throughout the process, really.
Yeah. We've had a question come in, and it's quite topical because I was talking to you about it before the webinar and at the beginning, but are you using AI? Is AI involved a lot of what you do now? Because obviously things are moving pretty fast in the world of AI at the moment. But the question is, how much AI is involved in this kind of prep work right now, and how could or should AI be involved in annual reviews in the future?
Yeah, it's a great question. At the moment, I don't see it involved an awful lot in the preparation. So it's brilliant for taking meeting notes and doing post-meeting summaries. The prep work side of things at the minute is still not quite there in terms of what's available with AI. There is still efficiencies to be made if you've got the right back office tech or you're using the right technology that can automate certain things. I've worked with some firms that have built that sort of file check that I was talking about into their back office. And then what you're relying on is your back office being up to date so that it's running that check and pulling that information and putting it into a format that you like. So there's efficiencies that can be made with tech, or like that pre-review questionnaire I was talking about, you could have like a workflow bit on your back office that says, right, 4 weeks ahead of this date, send this questionnaire to my clients with this template. So there's that sort of stuff. But in terms of AI doing some of this prep work at the moment, unfortunately, it's not there, but I'd like to see it come.
We hope and pray it'll be there soon. But like Shaunagh says, AI is something we've got our eye on massively. We've looked at them all. We've looked at everything that's in the market, and there's nothing there that is consistently good at delivering what we need it to deliver.
Yeah.
And until time, we will still do everything, like Shaunagh says, by using workflows and automations, because let's face it, that's what AI really is. It's driving automation. It's making things be done for you, so you haven't got to worry about doing them, and doing it quicker and faster. So yeah, in our business, we are, we're looking at all of AI all of the time, and we're keeping an eye on it. But sadly, it's just not there yet. There's a few things that are, but in terms of like Shaunagh said, the meeting notes, they're great. That saves a lot of time. But nothing.
That's the biggest save at the moment with AI and the sort of review process is definitely that post-meeting type up and outlining all the actions and not having to kind of like debrief that back to your team. It's like done nicely for you, and you can also just whiz an email off to the clients to just remind them of those discussions.
This is it. In my opinion, it's never there to replace anybody in a business. AI, I think it's there just really give you a helping hand, automate things a little bit more, and just give more of your time to seeing your clients, and gives you access to see more people, doesn't it? Really, it's never going to replace anybody, I don't think, in my opinion.
Yeah, and financial advice is very personal, and it's about connection and talking to people, and you don't want a robot to do that bit for you. We want to as in our business, we want to streamline everything we do and make everything more efficient and quicker, but we still want that personal connection with people, because financial planning is all about helping someone deliver their goals or reach their goals, and you helping them deliver their objectives and stuff. And you can't do that through AI. It's all very personal. So there's always been an element that you just can't avoid. And yes, the Gen Zs of the world probably like, I don't want to talk to anyone. I don't like using my phone. I don't like doing this. I just want to send an email and it'll be done. I've got one of them. I know exactly what that sort of person is. So maybe, in the future, for those younger generations, they won't want to speak to people. But today, and where we are today, and the people we're working with today, and the clients we're working with today, they do want to speak to people.
Absolutely.
Okay.
One last question, just while we're on it.
Yeah.
This is in regards to AI. We've had a question come in. What do you use currently for sort of pre and post meeting notes and summaries, if you like? I know we use Copilot a lot. We love Copilot. It's embedded into our whole back office system. It's super, super cool. Otter is one as well. Otter AI, people use Otter. Is there anything that you guys use that hits the mark for what you're doing?
So the way that we work with advisor firms is very bespoke. So we wouldn't have someone join us and be like, right, you have to use Copilot, for example. So we work with lots of different ones at the moment, is what I'm trying to say. So we work with like Advisory AI or Saturn or Ningy. It's really down to the firm and the sort of the tech company that they want to partner with and what they're trying to achieve with their process. And I think when you're considering what technology you should be using, there's a whole exercise around that. And it's great to find out what works for other people, but just using something because someone else does, in my opinion, isn't the right thing to do. I think you've really got to go through what you want your process to be, what you want to deliver, the experience that you want to have, where you want that to grow, how do you want to sort of develop even further on that, and have those really good conversations with these tech providers and find out about their roadmaps and do you get on as people, and do you like their culture and all that sort of stuff? So yeah, we work with a few different ones at the minute.
Do you have a preference?
To be honest, they're all doing exactly the same thing.
Okay, fine. Where would somebody start? As you said, just speaking to these providers, finding out their roadmap, what they're looking at integrating and bringing into the business. You know, it's kind of what I think whenever we look at a product, it's great at looking at what it's doing right now, but we also like to see, as you said, the roadmap as to what is to come. You know, if they're not investing in their tech and they think they've got the product that fits it all, it's very hard to see the long-term vision if that product or that tool is going to be suitable long term. So I think it's just explore the providers, get a feel for what they're doing right now and what they're looking to bring to the market over time, right?
Yeah, definitely. And
don't as well. I think it's about, you know, get some calls in with all these different people and see who they are and how they're delivering and what their roadmap is, and you know, and understand that, and then you can make those decisions with everything else in the business as well.
I would also just add,
roadmap, guys. Roadmap is the key word.
Yeah, and don't focus too much on what your problems are today. I think you've really got to go back to that drawing board and say, right, if I was going to start from scratch, what do I want to achieve and what do I want to deliver? Because it's going to be possible. It might not be possible right now, but what you don't want to do is just get into bed with a new provider or a new tech piece or a new back office or whatever it is that you think you're trying to solve. And then a year later realize actually you're not that much further forward because you've still got different issues. So it's just like trying to take it back to basics and really think about the longevity of what you're trying to achieve.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Back over to you. Thanks for that.
Cool. Brilliant. So this part of the process, the 12-month review, is pretty much standard. And I think, you know, everyone is doing this. And this is normally what we'd do in that sort of 1 to 2 week period that we touched on earlier. So 2 weeks, up to 2 weeks before the meeting. And that's just having a nice deep dive into the last 12 months, really looking at value 12 months ago and the value now and the performance and the costs and the charges and the contributions and the withdrawals, and, you know, pulling stuff off and putting it onto file for evidence, for compliance, but also then taking that and creating something that you can give to your clients. It's just a nice extra thing, you know, like a nice branded document. Helps with that client engagement. If it's visual, if it's client friendly, it summarizes the key things for them, something they can take away or deliver to them before the meeting. That's just a nice way of kind of saying, you know, here's what's happened over the last 12 months and the performance and all that sort of stuff. And what that then does is help shift that mindset for both the advisor and the client from a review meeting talking about performance and what's happened over the last 12 months and shifting it more into, right, how do we move forward? How do we keep us on track? What's the plan? What's our plan for the next 12 months? And with that data harvest piece, looking at contributions and withdrawals, again, is just like trying not to see it as just a tick box exercise, but really looking into why certain things have happened. So if they made a big withdrawal, why did that happen? What shifted the course of their plan over the 12 months that needed them to need this money? And is that something, is there an opportunity in there? Is there an advice opportunity in there? Similar with, you know, contributions, that's where we start thinking about like allowances. So if they're making a regular contribution to their pension, and we know from earlier on in the process where the clients have returned some information to us that actually they've still got some surplus income every month, should we be looking at increasing that contribution to their pension or doing more with that money? So it's really looking into the sort of the whole picture, not just, okay, they're making a contribution and that's it, that's the picture done.
Yeah.
And again, it's some of that information you might find useful to go into that agenda document that we're talking about. So we always see the agenda as the one thing the advisor needs in the meeting to kind of cover all bases for them. So anything they might need to raise with the client, anything they've kind of not finished from their prep work, any useful information that starts meaningful conversations, or if a conversation comes up around like wills and power of attorney and stuff, like you don't need to say, let me look into it, we'll come back to you. It's just kind of like there, you can refer to the agenda. Oh, I clicked twice. Okay, so touched on this a little bit just now with the allowances, but the advice check is where the magic happens. So this is where we can start turning those review meetings into opportunities. So if we've gone through that prep process of making sure that we've got everything we need from the client and we've got an update on their current position, we know the cash that they're holding, we know that they want to talk about a JISA for their new grandchild in their meeting. You know, you've done all of that kind of hard work of getting the information you need, so you're not having to go through that in the meeting with the client. Now you can start looking for the opportunities. And again, you might include a nice structure to this in a meeting agenda. You might have like lots of different areas of advice that you kind of like, you act as a checklist, right? I'm going to go through pensions, I'm going to go through investments, I'm going to go through protection. But by having the time before the meeting to do this sort of advice check and look for those opportunities, you can come up with that advice in advance and go into the meeting ready. So we could be looking at, they've got a remaining ISA allowance, and then you've looked into the gains position on their GIA. You know that if they were to do a bed and ISA transaction, this is the gains that it would realise for them. Or, that actually something has changed to their existing position, and therefore there's some sort of protection shortfall that we might need to talk about. And what you can do is actually then run some quick quotes. We're not expecting you to do your whole advice piece and write a suitability report, but you can run some quick quotes and you can sort of see how much that protection might cost them, and also see if that's affordable because you've got that information up front, so that when you then go into the meeting with the client, there's none of that kind of harvesting some information, trying to engage if there's something that could be done, or saying, we'll come back to you or write to you about that. You can literally go in with really clear, actionable advice and, get the buy-in in the meeting that's what you want to do. So
there's
this
no surprises, is there? There's no surprises to the advisor in the meeting. The prep's been done beforehand, and you're going in there. You're going in there armed and ready, if you like. You know what you're going to go in there to talk about. How far in advance should the agenda be sent out to the client before the annual review? What's the golden rule?
So I wouldn't recommend sending the whole agenda to the clients in advance. We do have it where some advisors will have like a client-facing version. And our view on that is always a week before the meeting. If there's anything that you're sending to the clients before their meeting, give them a week to digest it and go through it. So that could be a plan summary, it could be an agenda. It's really up to you what you might want to be giving to those clients. But a week before, that gives them the time to digest it and come to that meeting prepared. But yeah, we the way that we see the prep for a meeting as well is that it shouldn't be the advisor. We think the advisor should be doing the meeting. But the whole prep should be the support team. So you've got a mixture of administration work here, and this piece is obviously paraplanning. So having a good paraplanner have a look through this client's position and find those advice opportunities for you as an advisor, and pulling that out, running any quick sort of analysis or quotes that might be needed, and putting it into that agenda so that the advisor can go in with some really clear, actionable strategies to talk about. And then the final piece to that really is just making sure that you're updating your cash flow plan ahead. You've got all the information from the clients, you've got all the updated plan information, you've got some clear, actionable advice that you're going to talk about. So update the cash flow plan, have a few different scenarios demonstrating the impact of that advice, and like literally then everything is ready to just run with a really sort of valuable meeting for clients. I put some examples on screen here. So the conversations you have can shift slightly different. So rather than being like, right, yep, we need to look at your pension and we need to maximize that allowance, or yep, let's maximize your ISA, and then you're sort of trying to find out what cash they've got, or should it be a bed and ISA, you're going in straight away with, this is what we need to do to keep you on track. You've got this surplus cash, we need to make it work harder for you because you want to retire at 60. So we're going to put 10 grand in each of your ISAs because you've got that allowance remaining. You've got these pension allowances remaining. So we're going to put the remainder into these pots. And this is what it looks like with your cash flow. You can see, you're edging closer towards that retiring at 60. Or like the other example here that you can read really on screen is around that more protection piece. So someone going back to work part-time, someone else taking a hefty pay rise, and then having that conversation around, well, what does it look like if the main income earner can't work? If they're out of work, they're not working, what does that look like for you? And you've already done the prep work, you've done the cash flow to show them, and you've already looked into how much a policy would cost to sort that out for them, and you already know that it's affordable. So you can go in with really confident sort of strategies and conversations.
We've had a really good question around this, actually. It says from Gillian, she said, I can see the value to the client on such a comprehensive prep, but what about the time versus revenue for the advisor? is there a diminishing scale of return on prep here? Now, I don't know if you want to answer that, Shaunagh, but my input into that is if you're going into a review meeting with all of this preparation and you know exactly what the advice could be before you see that client, you are going to have a much better outcome from that review meeting. You're going to increase the value to the client, build the trust so much more in that client. They're going to think, wow, they're really thinking about me and my plan for life. And they're going to be more upfront about giving more money, investing more money, or taking up that protection policy that you've gone in there with and the quote with, etc. So to me, I think it's about the more you can prep and the more you can do, such as this process, you're going to get more out of that meeting. You're going to get more money and more fees for yourself and the business, because you've got you've gone in so much more prepared and you've built that whole trust around the whole thing. I don't know if you've got any other things to add.
The only thing I would add to that really is clients are all different. So where you've got a client that might have a slightly more complex position, they've got more objectives, or they've got more cash, or whatever their position is, this prep work might take you a bit longer, because there should hopefully be some more opportunities in there for you to uncover. And if you've got a more simplistic client, that prep piece, you'll still go through the same sort of process, but it's much quicker. And this is where you need to bring some sort of efficiency and streamline in, which I will touch on this a little bit later, is having a really consistent process. So is drafting up a meeting agenda or an advice checklist that guides you through all the different areas you might look at for a client to see if there's any opportunities or anything that you can do to help enhance their plan. And when you're dealing with a more simplistic client that might probably be paying you less, it's more of a, right, no, there's nothing to do here, tick, next, there's nothing to do here, next. But the ones that are maybe a bit more complex, a bit more money, paying you more money, that's where you're probably then going to start spending a bit more time. So hopefully it balances itself out there.
Plus, you can also present your clients a little bit in this process as well. You could have certain clients in a certain bracket and a certain process, and others in another process, and you ones what you're going to spend more time on.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. The value in this and the outcome for the client is fantastic, isn't it, really? If you're doing this kind of level of prep beforehand, it's going to be better outcomes for you, your business, for the advisor, but ultimately the value on the client here is tenfold, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. We have advisors that use our services that don't really do new business, that in terms of they don't take on new clients.
Yeah.
They're running very successful businesses from servicing. They don't need to take on new people all the time. And granted, people do die, so their clients are dying, so they are taking on the odd one in here, but it's not their driving force. Their driving force in their business model is servicing and getting the most out of those clients, because they're still there, aren't they? They're still there. You might as well get the most out of them.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Amazing. So this is just a quick side sort of show, really, that those meetings are then not tick box exercises. They're not performance focused or thinking about the last 12 months. It is an objective and value led meeting, and it's a nice structured, actionable plan, keeping that client progressing towards their goals of what they want to achieve.
Love that.
And I forgot to put this in. This is just afterwards. This is a bit on client engagement, really. So if you're using AI and you're getting some nice post-meeting summaries and stuff, and even if you're not, doesn't really matter. But it's taking those meeting discussions, taking your notes, and just creating a nice little branded annual suitability report or progress report, whatever you might want to call it, which again, it's branded, it's visual, it's client friendly, and it's focusing on their objectives and if they're on track, and if not, what the adjustments are that you've spoken about, or the new advice pieces that you've spoken about.
Yeah.
So one thing for me, I guess what I'm trying to say there is a big thing with client engagement is brand, keeping yourself branded through every touch point with the client, keeping it visual. No client wants to be reading just loads of text. So this is one of my bugbears of AI at the moment. Suitability reports. Okay, great. It can kick out some content. What you do with that is then really important, because you're not just going to send that document as it is to the client. You need to make it in a nice, presentable format that they can follow and understand.
And it's not there yet with the AI, is it? Let's be honest.
No, but there is still time saving, so that's all good.
100%. Yeah, absolutely.
So hopefully what we've gone through there, you can see now that if you spend that time to prepare well for a meeting, you can turn those meetings into opportunities because we're gathering lots of information ahead of time. We're completing that advice review before the meeting and we're going in with a clear strategy. When you then ask your clients for referrals, which everyone should be doing, hopefully they feel like they get lots of value and benefit from those meetings, and they see that you really care about keeping them on track and pushing them even closer towards their goals. So they're more likely to refer, hopefully.
Yep.
And also, if you're engaging in the process with getting tax returns, getting power of attorneys, getting wills on file, and being invested, even if you don't get involved in that area, just being invested in what the client's got and the position they could be in if someone did need to step in as a power of attorney and stuff, you can make some professional connections with their solicitors and their accountants, and then that in turn helps with referrals and things too.
Yeah. And if you're not getting referrals and you're a business owner, what are you doing on Thursday, the 8th of May? Because we're in London and we are building out the client referral machine. So where are you? Come and join us for the day.
Amazing. And then the final thing really from me is just that's obviously we've gone through a process which can maybe feel labor intensive. And it's just how you then take that and make it efficient. And there's a few things to think about. So the main ones are here. So making it a repeatable and consistent documented process, even down to that advice check, having a checklist or having something documented that then you do exactly the same thing with every client. It's, it becomes more like an efficient process then. It's more driven, it's more well-oiled because it's consistent and it's repeatable. And then having templates for absolutely everything. Every part of that process, have a template for it, even down to like the emails you might send to clients. That few minutes that you spend writing that email every time, it takes up time. Have a template, make it personal when you then use it, but have a template for everything.
I love a template. You've got to have a template for everything. I told you about the templates that I was building on AI, and it just saves so many minutes, so many hours, so many days over the year. It's incredible.
It does. And then think about the technology you are using, or like the technology you might introduce into the process, and think about where you might be able to automate some of those steps. And that will be different for every firm. So where can your tech do some of the heavy lifting in that process? And then most importantly is the right people, right job. So, advisor is a very costly person in a business. Their skill set is in client relationships and seeing those clients and having those really important discussions. So take the prep away from them. They shouldn't be booking their own meetings anymore. They shouldn't really even be doing that advice check. That's a good paraplanner. Get yourself a good support team. Make sure the right people are doing the right job to help you prepare well for these meetings.
Absolutely.
I think that's everything.
We've got a poll.
From me. Yeah, that's everything from me. So that's over to Michelle now.
Got another question as well, just to finish off. From Sam, says, what would you use to create the branded visual client report or meeting summary post-meeting?
Can you just repeat that? Sorry.
Says, what would you use to create the branded visual client report?
Well, we use Canva, don't we? We think it's great for everything. Getting a really good template in there that you can just rinse and repeat, personalize to a client. And yeah, if you're using AI post-meeting summaries, it's just then taking that and putting it into that template. Kind of becomes a bit of a design job then, really. But
I think we've all moved into kind of, AI is great, but I think we're all moving into graphic designers now as well.
There we are.
We're having to make stuff look so much more prettier than it used to be.
Something that we do as well for advisors that use our services. Everything we do is to make it look nicer and more visual, more appealing to the customer to read it.
Yeah, absolutely. So on that last poll of the day, how many clients do you think one advisor can service? I missed out a bit of the question on that. Did you say you got the full question?
Each year, yeah. Oh yeah, your poll's missed some of the question. Yeah, it has.
Ignore that, people. All right, tech, eh? Don't rely on tech.
Don't rely on AI.
Don't rely. That was AI that did that. I've got to think. It was not me, I promise. It was absolutely me. So how many clients do you think one advisor can service in a year? Just to be clear. So we've got 50%. Oh, what I do? Everybody's voted near enough. There or thereabouts. Last 5 seconds, get your vote in. Done. Share the results. So 50% say up to 100, 43% say up to 200, and 7% say 200 plus. Now, what do you make of that?
It's very interesting because people normally say up to 100. They think 100 is their top ceiling. It's interesting that we've split between 100 and 200 fairly 50-50.
Yeah.
Some people have said 200 plus, which I'd like to meet some of those people and talk to them and see what they're doing in order to do that. I'm just going to stop. Have you shared that? Because it's right in the middle of my screen.
Sorry, I can stop sharing that.
Yeah, fabulous.
Done.
So scalability for us is all about sort of like how many people can you service and making the business more efficient and all that sort of stuff. Now, I can still see the poll. I'm just going to get rid of it my end as well. Most advisors say they can service around 120 households, and that typically is the average of what they get to before they start to either panic or think of other things that they've got to do. Now, using a service like ours, which is a full outsource service, we can support advisors to basically get that number to 504. And every time I say this, people go, are you joking? 504? I could never see 504 people a year. But that's 3 meetings a day, the annual review meetings. That's 4 days a week and 10 weeks off a year. So if that sounds like a nice business model for you, do you want to work 4 days a week? Do you only want to see 3 people a day? And do you want to have 10 weeks off a year? Using an outsourced solution like ours, you can absolutely see 504 people a year. And, that's a great business. And you're going to be, the business model you're going to have is much, much larger than what you think you can have.
Yeah, I think it's scalability is different for every advisor. So it's like, what lifestyle do you want to have? Are you doing your meetings face to face, therefore you've actually got some travel time, or are you doing them all online? Because obviously in this scenario they're all online, but scalability comes down to things like your tech, but also having the right people on the right job. So if the advisor has got the right support function, whether that's employed or outsourced, and all they're doing is seeing those clients, then they absolutely could be seeing 500 people a year.
Yeah. It's all down to capacity, isn't it? It's the capacity of that person, of that business, depending on whether you can scale it or not. Because if you're at maximum capacity and there's no give either side, then how can you physically scale a business if you are being pulled from pillar to post?
Yes, and you can do that through 3 ways. So you can build yourself a team. So, if an advisor is doing all of this prep work themselves, they are really doing them a disservice. You've gone back a slide, Shaunagh.
Oh, sorry, yeah. Didn't know if you're ready for this one.
Yeah. So you can even build yourself a team. But the only thing was with an internal team, you get dragged into HR. You then become a manager. So you not only are trying to see all those clients and be a great advisor, but you're now becoming, you're a manager. You've got to go through training. You've got to go through recruitment. And then, okay, you might get to a point where other people are doing some of those elements for you, but you are still in charge of all of those people. So you've still got that element of HR risk to your business, to yourself, and obviously team members come and go all the time, and it causes headache and can provide a non-consistent service to your clients. So, or you could outsource, and with a support like ours, all you need to do is turn up to the meeting and we do absolutely everything else. So all you've got to do is send that debrief back to us, and we will cover everything. So we do all the stuff before, all the stuff after, and all you got to do is see that client, knowing everything is sorted for you. Oh, you just jumped forward 2 slides there.
Have you got to be somewhere, Shaunagh?
Come on, go back.
Sorry. I think I went forward twice, but that's once now. Yeah, what, you still on this?
Yes, thank you.
Oh, right. Sorry. I thought we were ready to move on again.
I'll see you next. Or, you can use AI as well. So we've talked about AI today. So if you're seeing your clients, you're passing everything back to us. If you're using AI to transcribe, record, and write all that, the post meeting, you haven't even got to do that bit. You can literally just see that client and say, here's my AI tool. We'll log in. We'll get all the details from the meeting. You don't even have to bother with that bit either.
Yeah.
Next slide, please, in Boris style. So what do we do? So eParaplan, we charge a per client subscription fee, and that's anything from £12 per month. Now that rate obviously goes up and down based on the level of work that we're doing. And it could be that we're doing a little part of your client servicing journey, or we're completely doing it all. And that basically provides like a complete solution covering all admin, all paraplanning, the compliance, absolutely everything. And as I say, all that advisor has to do is sit in front of the client and give them the advice and have that great connection and that great relationship with that client. They just focus on them completely. And, you know, we keep everything running whilst they sit back and enjoy a cuppa and a bicky.
Nice.
We should have been an advisor, really. That's what we should have done. No, I'm joking.
I used to be an advisor.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're eParaplan, and we believe the future of servicing is this subscription model, by providing a comprehensive and innovative can't speak today. I'm not even going to try that word again. Monthly subscription covering all of your servicing needs. You can just sit back, see your clients, and have a great business. And if you do see your clients on Zoom or Teams and not regularly face to face, you can be anywhere in the world when you're having those conversations if you want to. You could be on holiday, you could be, you know, you could be in Scotland, you could be in Ireland, anywhere sort of thing. You know, you don't have to have that big office, you don't have to have a full team of people. And then that becomes more efficient and more, you know, more integrated and everything. So what we can provide is kind of a client servicing function for your business. So if anyone is interested in having a chat with us about that, you know, when we speak to new advisors, we go through sort of like technology, what technology you're using. We help them look at technology and what they could be using, what they should be using based on their business model. But also we look at charging structures. And if, you know, we've got a nice spreadsheet that we use with advisors that are doing everything themselves, and we can show them the actual cost that it's costing them to do all that stuff themselves, whether they outsource that or they build their own team. So it's a really, really great thing to go through. The details are on screen. Obviously, I think most people know who eParaplan are. We're not paraplanners, we're a client servicing business, but we have administrators, paraplanners and compliance people within our business. I think a lot of people sometimes think we just do paraplanning, but we don't.
No. And Dom, I have to agree. Like a comment from Dom saying it's easier to get bigger clients. And yeah, absolutely. You know, in an ideal world, that's where everybody will be steering their ship towards, is just getting bigger clients. But I think as a business, you know, as you start a business, as an advisor starts their career, you know, they probably can't be as picky as to, this is my minimums, this is the only type of client I'm going to take on. So everybody has those clients within their business until they get to the point where they get, you know, to capacity. Then they start putting some limitations in place where I'm only taking on clients that are X value, or, you know, produce, you know, X amount of income, for example. And the majority of the industry fall into management, as the girls were, you know, alluding to. You know, it comes to the point where you get to the size that you want to continue to grow, and you've got two options. Do you start recruiting, hiring, and start thinking about your advice business and how you become a manager, and then you start wearing every other cap in your business? Or do you look at a fully outsourced solution? So there's two channels that you fall in, really, in our opinion. But yeah, absolutely, if we could all get bigger clients, that would be the ideal.
Yeah.
But
Oh, yeah, that would be
I
lovely.
think, yeah, the key there though comes down to that client segmentation. And actually, if you have got simpler, smaller clients, is having a more efficient process. So what we've gone through today isn't really like about low net worth clients or taking on smaller clients. We can do that. You know, that could be another webinar another time, how you could service low net worth clients with a nice, efficient process. But this is where this is more that financial planning. So where you have got those bigger clients, where you do start niching towards taking on those clients that fit into that category, is making sure that your services are valuable, that you're doing good prep, and that you're getting good meetings, and you're turning those meetings into more opportunities for advice.
Exactly that. Exactly that. Well, look at that. We are on the mark, exactly 11. Thank you, everybody that joined us today. You'll all get an email with some details about the scorecard and everything that we mentioned beforehand as well. Have a great Friday. Have a smashing weekend, and hope to see you all next Friday, 10 o'clock. We go again. So get yourself registered, and we'll see you again very, very soon. Ladies, thank you so much for joining us. It was a really good webinar.
Thanks for having us.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for doing what's in.